There's absolutely terrible flooding now developing in the southern parts of Taiwan, so at the opposite end of the island to where I am now in Taipei. And obviously there's rescue and recovery efforts ongoing there, particularly around the city of Kaohsiung. Typhoon Gaemi hit around midnight on the northeastern coast of Taiwan, and that is quite close to the area where that 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit in April. So there are fears about how this heavy rain, the torrential rain really, and heavy winds that have come from the typhoon will potentially pose additional risk of landslides and that kind of thing. Now, there have been about 4 deaths reported. We have details of some. A man who was driving an excavator which was overturned in the conditions. A woman who was killed in her car when a large piece of wall fell off the outside of a building, hitting that car, and a woman yesterday who was on a scooter. A woman in her 70s down south was hit by a falling tree. So authorities here, they say that about 300 people have been injured at this stage. More than 10,000 have been evacuated from those high-risk areas. And the typhoon has also interrupted the Taiwan's annual military drills, and those troops have, of course, are now at hand to help with any recovery efforts. Here in Taipei, we've been relatively protected from the typhoon. It has been raining quite heavily and consistently. All work and classes have been cancelled now for the second day in a row. All domestic flights were cancelled today. A lot of international flights were cancelled today. So certainly nearly the entirety of Taiwan has really ground to a halt.
Yeah. And in fact, some of the shipping channels, the ships have been affected because of the way the waves have been whipped up.
That's right. So there's actually a search ongoing for a freighter that reported in this morning saying it was listing and sinking off Kaohsiung, that southern city, and they haven't been heard from since around 6:30 this morning. There are 9 Myanmar nationals on that boat. A Taiwanese cargo ship was in the area around 8:30 this morning. They couldn't find the vessel because of the visibility, the poor visibility. This afternoon, authorities have dispatched a Black Hawk rescue helicopter, but conditions are still difficult. If they find any crew members, they are going to have to call in extra support. Now, there's several ships which have run aground around Taiwan. Authorities say the various crews on those are safe, although there is one which is awaiting rescue. In the Philippines, worryingly, a tanker has sunk and this is creating a large oil spill. The Transportation Secretary there says 16 of 17 crew members have been rescued. They're still searching for one, but of course that is being hampered by the weather, strong winds and huge waves. That ship was carrying nearly 1,500 metric tonnes of industrial fuel, according to the Transportation Secretary. So, of course, now there is an urgent effort on to try and contain that oil spill.
Yeah. And talking of the Philippines, they are really have been badly hit now, really just trying to pick up the pieces.
Look, the images coming out of the Philippines are shocking. The typhoon didn't even make landfall there, yet it's brought this huge amount of rain. There are at least a dozen people killed, according to government data, from this enormous amount of flooding that's being created, particularly around the capital, Manila. There have been landslides as well. There are 600,000 people displaced from this flooding. There are images coming out of people wading through waist-high, even neck-high floodwaters in areas where the water has receded. You can see the clean-up just looks monumental, mud everywhere, whole households of belongings really that look non-salvageable. So a huge amount of work to happen now to recover in Manila and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, and of course it hasn't finished, it is still on its path.
That's right. The next destination for this typhoon is southern China. The southeastern province of Fujian has put out its highest alert level. Schools and tourist spots were closed there today. Non-essential businesses have been told to shut up shop. So, of course, everyone there hunkering down. China has already had a terrible summer for flooding and rain so far. Even just in the last week, there has been flash flooding in different areas around the country. A bridge collapsed in the northwestern Shaanxi province, plunging more than 20 vehicles into a flooded river. So just in the last week or so, at least 29 people have died, and there are still dozens missing.
Appreciate getting that update from you. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thanks, Bev.